Hi everyone. Do you have a difficult time setting boundaries? Do you sometimes feel like you're a doormat? Well, this is Crystal Cook, and I'm going to talk to you about simple strategies to navigate a complex world so that you can live your best life. So many of us find it's so difficult to set boundaries with people. Oftentimes we may have that disease to please. We don't want anyone to be angry with us. We don't want someone to not like us. And so we say yes to things we really want to say no to. Or do you find that you're a magnet for people that are toxic or unhealthy to you, for you, or that just really, when you're around them, you don't feel good? You feel bad about yourself. They say or do things that's not nice, or you're always walking on eggshells because you never know when that person, how they're going to react to you. Well, it's really simple to change these things. It's not easy. Simple does not always mean easy, but it is really simple to make these changes. And it may be hard at first, may be difficult at first, because when we first start setting boundaries with other people in our life, we get pushback because people like to have someone in their life that's always going to say yes. Let's ask Sally to bring that extra dish to the potluck. Let's ask Sally to cover our late shift. Let's ask Sally to dog sit for us. Let's ask Sally, because whenever you ask Sally, Sally always says yes. Well, Sally may get really sick of saying yes and may become quite resentful. And so sometimes, if you relate to Sally and if you feel like you need some help setting boundaries, let's talk about this today. That's what I'm going to talk about today on our video. So, one of the things that you can first do if you find yourself saying yes to things that you really would prefer to say no to, you don't want to upset anybody, you have that disease to please, is when someone says, "Hey, Crystal, will you cover the late shift for me? Or will you cover my weekend shift? Will you cover the on call duty this weekend?" And I really don't want to. Maybe I don't have plans, but I don't want to have to work for someone else's shift. What you can do if it's too much of a stretch to say, no, I don't want to do that, because then someone will say, well, you don't have anything going on this weekend. I have plans. You don't have anything going on. You never have anything going on. Why can't you take my shift? That may be difficult for us if we're first starting to set boundaries. That may be a stretch. So, one thing that you can do to buy yourself time is just say, let me think about it. And the other person may give you perspective. What do you mean? Let me think about it. You always cover my shift. And you can say, I have covered your shift a lot in the past. And this time I need to think about it before I commit to saying yes to you. So, what that does for us is just don't say yes or no. Say, let me think about it. Because when you say, let me think about it, the other person then knows it's not going to be an instant yes, and you can later, when you've had time to maybe practice, to role play, or to get brave, you can come back and say, um, I'm sorry if this, or don't even say I'm sorry, don't apologize for that, just say, I really hope that you find someone that can cover your shift. At the same time, it's just not going to be me this weekend. um, and the more you do it, the more you practice setting up those boundaries with people, the easier it will be. And it becomes a reinforcing type of experience for you because it feels good. It's like, wow, I stood up for myself. It may feel bad because, Joey's mad at me now, or Joey's upset because I didn't say yes, but I was true to myself and I did what I felt like I needed to do to take care of myself. So putting yourself first is really the most healthy thing that you can do. Of course, we always talk about in the therapy world when we work with our clients, when we talk about self-care and putting ourselves first, that filling our own cup um, is really the best thing we can do when we have to try to be present for so many other people. This is especially true with moms. Moms tend to really go the extra mile for everybody. And, it's no joke in the airplane when they talk about, put your oxygen mask on first before you put someone else's, because you need to take care of yourself before you can really be present to take care of anybody else in your life. Um, what I have found is that certain toxic people are find themselves magnetized towards someone who has a hard time saying no, to someone that views themselves as maybe being treated as a doormat. Those toxic people can be really difficult to manage and can be really difficult to say no to, because what happens when there's, um, lot of literature out there about toxic relationships, toxic people, emotional vampires. There's a lot of different verbiage that can be used with that. In therapy, we talk about personality disorders, borderline personality disorders. It doesn't really matter what term you give to give this type of person, but when it comes down to it, it's someone that may be in your life that um, as long as you do what they want, that they're really happy. If you go against the grain or go against something that they want from you, oftentimes you get punished. Maybe you get punished by getting the silent treatment, or when you try to set boundaries and address something that that person has said or done that hurt your feelings, all of a sudden the whole table gets turned and you end up getting attacked for something, and it's very confusing, and you end up apologizing for something you don't even really know. Why am I apologizing for this? It's like all I wanted to do was talk about this comment that was made that really bothered me, and it this conversation got so ugly and awful and uncomfortable, and now I feel bad. And I don't know why I feel bad, but I feel bad because this conversation took such an interesting turn. And I've certainly had experiences with people, those types of relationships in my life. And the best thing you can do with those relationships is set firm, immediate boundaries, and you will get pushed back. And that person may treat you badly, or may choose to give you the silent treatment, or that person often does some kind of punishment, but they make things so difficult when you set boundaries that it, it's hard to stick to them. And that's why it works for them, because they are experts at manipulation and getting people to do what they want. And they do that through um, just the horrible feeling it feels when there's that high conflict and that fighting and the getting accused of things, and it's just so uncomfortable. And the thing that I know how I can identify that type of person in my life, whether it's professional or personal, is if I'm confused, if oftentimes what they say and how they act doesn't match, or if their reaction to things is completely out of proportion. Like a typical person wouldn't get so angry at this comment, or wouldn't get so angry when I say no to a request. But this person really gets angry and becomes accusatory, and just all of a sudden they're arguing with me about something that I don't even know why they're even arguing about, but I'm getting accused of things that it just really doesn't make sense. So when we have those type of people in our lives, it's just really important to be centered, to maybe practice, a daily meditation practice, a daily time in the morning when we get up, to just be still and present and be centered, so that when we interact with someone that has those traits, they don't knock us off balance, and we can say, that reaction really seems strange or out of the ordinary or out of the norm. What is going on for that person? This probably is not about me. If you have said nothing or done nothing to elicit someone's anger and aggression towards you, then you can rest assured that that is not about you. It may be projected at you and coming to you, but it's not about you. And if it's confusing and doesn't make sense, that's a good sign that it's really not about you, that there's just a toxic personality that you're dealing with. And it's just best to just keep boundaries, to listen, set boundaries, and, you don't need to engage. You don't need to engage in an argument or trying to stick up for yourself or trying to rationalize with this type of person, because there's not going to be any sort of rationalization that's going to take place. It's because it doesn't make sense. And stay true to yourself and really listen to that inner voice. If it's something feels off, it's like this isn't feeling right. Trust that because that is usually a pretty good guidance system. Um, when people react to us oftentimes and we don't understand where the anger's coming from, or if especially this happens a lot with people who have the disease to please. If other people maybe are stressed out or they're in a really bad mood and they're short with us or irritated with us, we often think, oh my gosh, what did I do? Did I do something that upset this person? And we agonize over it and we overthink it. And there's a really good author, Miguel Ruiz, that wrote the Four Agreements. And in one of those Four Agreements is don't take anything personal. And that's true because that other person may have so many things going on in their life that has nothing to do with you. It could be that they woke up late and everything went wrong that morning, or they're really tired or they don't feel well. And to just know that this really isn't about me, and you can just let it go and not let it bother you throughout the day. When it comes to dealing with those toxic personalities, Dr. Phil McGraw has a really good book out there called The Life Code. And he talks about how to identify these types of personalities and some really simple, concrete steps that you can take on how to manage them in your life. I think setting boundaries is a simple concept, but it can be extremely difficult to follow through with just because if we're changing the way we are in the world, how people interact with us, starting to change that may feel really good for us because we're being true to ourselves, but it's going to be different for someone else. So expect that pushback. Expect that that other people aren't going to like it at first. But if you stay firm and consistent with those boundaries, people will respect that. You have every right to set boundaries and to say no, like anybody else. It doesn't have to be you. Shouldn't be the one that's always covering everybody else's shift at work, or going the extra mile, or always being the yes person, or doing most of the work on a project at work. It should not be you. If other people are saying no to this and they're putting it off on you, then they're taking advantage of you. And maybe they don't even know. If you have never said, I don't feel comfortable with that, or I don't like that decision, or I don't want to, they don't know. They may think that you like doing all of that because you always say yes, and you say yes with a smile. And so I think it's important too that unless someone's a toxic person, if they're just a typical average person and you're saying yes all of the time when you really want to say no, they have no idea that you're saying yes to something that you don't want to do. And most people, if they realize that you didn't really want to do it, they may not like it because they like the yes person, but they also really want to have someone in their life that, if they're saying yes, is something that they really want to do. And they don't want to inconvenience other people. So be true to yourself, set boundaries, say yes when you mean yes, say no when you mean no. Try to cure yourself of the disease to please. It's okay if someone's mad at you. It's okay if someone decides they don't like you. Not everybody's going to like you, and what other people think of us really is none of our business. And remember to not take things personal. And this is Crystal Cook, and I am coming to you with simple strategies to navigate a complex world so that you can live your best life. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe.